Hello and welcome to the Cold Coffee Club, a podcast brought to you by Houston Moms. We're here to give you a little bit of that mom-to-mom connection, fun, and conversation amidst all the chaos. Join us as we take a break from doing all the things and explore the wide spectrum of this crazy motherhood role. We'll interview fun guests, talk about cool grown-up topics, laugh, share, and grow together. So go ahead, reheat that coffee, and put your feet up. Here we go.
Hi, welcome to the Cold Coffee Club. This is Jenny.
And this is Ashley. Good morning.
Good morning.
So,
okay,
spill some tea.
I have some tea today. This weekend, Grant and I were going to go on a date. We haven't been on one in a while, and he had planned, he was like, hey, why don't you get a sitter and we'll just go out to dinner. And he had planned to take us to one of our favorite restaurants. I'm not going to name it just because we really do like this restaurant and I don't want to drag her through the mud. We got a reservation and everything, and the sitter was there. We were doing the whole rundown of here's bedtime, here's, all the things that you do for the babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Grant walks out of our bedroom where he had been putting his shoes on, and he was like, hey, that was the restaurant. And they just canceled our reservation. They said there's a situation in the kitchen, where the grill went down.
Ooh.
They can't make any food. I was like, cool. So we still leave. We're obviously we have a sitter, we're going somewhere. Bye.
Right.
So we head out. But it was a Saturday night, and it's also homecoming time. And so everywhere we called, it was now 6:30. So every restaurant we called, we would be like, hey, how long is the wait for two people? And it was the shortest wait we could find was an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of aimlessly driving.
Yeah.
And yes, we could go to a Subway sandwich shop, but we were kind of dressed up, and you kind of want to go somewhere, know? And we were trying to find something new. So we were just driving around. We found a place to eat dinner that I also will say was not great.
Mm.
But we stumbled upon a place in the Heights called Dagama or Dagama. I think it's Dagama, probably Dagama. And it is an Indian inspired cafe.
Okay.
We just sat at the bar and had drinks and a dessert. Our dessert was called a Saratura.
Ooh.
But we just sat and chatted. The ambiance was amazing, the design, the decor. Our server, our bartender, I guess, Daniela, we chatted with her for a little bit. But it was so good, and the food that we had just eaten, so we weren't hungry, but I could see what other people were ordering, and it looked amazing.
Yeah.
And several people mentioned when I was talking about it on my Instagram stories, people were like, oh my gosh, that's our favorite place for Indian food. So I think we really missed the boat on eating at Dagama. So that's our bad. We didn't know about it. So
wait, describe a Saratura for us. What is that?
I don't it was funny. The menu described it as part of the ingredients is sawdust, which I know it's not really sawdust, but it was it was a layered, it came in a martini glass.
Oh, okay.
So it was a martini glass, and it had creaming. It was a layered, a trifle almost.
Okay.
And it had chocolate and cream, and I guess you would call it a graham cracker.
Okay.
But it was super crumbly.
Okay.
But it was just really decadent, and we really liked it.
Love it.
So anyways, that was my win and my fail, and my cream and sugar. Because go to Dagama. That was really, really delicious. It's in the Heights, off of, I guess, Shepherd.
Okay.
It's on Shepherd.
Okay. Perfect. So my win is that I'm super pumped that Hocus Pocus 2 is premiering. By the time this episode comes out, it will be out, and I will have seen it. Yay! And probably watched it 2 or 3 times. I'm so excited.
The girls are back.
Yes, they are. I sometimes jokingly use the word yabos because it's such an odd and silly word that I learned from that movie. And so there's lots of nostalgia there. So I'm super excited about that. And then My fail right now is that hand, foot, mouth is running rampant at my boys' school. Oh my gosh. It is like kids are just like Oliver checks in with me every day. He's like, 4 kids were gone today.
Oh my
6
gosh.
kids are gone today. And Maverick's like, yeah, 3 from mine too. And
like, can you stop touching each other? Like, quit touching each other.
Stop touching. It's gross. But that is a perfect segue to one of our posts. It was an archived post that we brought back because it's very relevant during this time of year. So we have a post on the website called "So Your Kid Has Hand, Foot, and Mouth," and it gives lots of tips to just dealing with it, and also there are several people who don't know what hand, foot, mouth is, so it gives a good description of what it is and what to look for. So yeah, it's
poor
it's
baby,
gross, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And then my cream and sugar this week. I am loving Little Woodrow's. It's a bar, and there's lots of really good food there. So there are several locations all over Houston, but my favorite location is the Tomball location because it has a great outdoor area, and there's screens to watch football games and all that. And I won some hardware there this past weekend. I won the Stein hoisting contest. So I set the record for the night of holding a big mug of beer for 2 minutes and 21 seconds, and I won this little baby here.
Oh my God, that is substantial, actually.
And they filled it with beer as like a prize, and I had to drink that.
I'm impressed.
It was a blast. I really was not going. I didn't want to do it. I was like, that seems intimidating. And there was like a lady there who we were waiting for our turn to go. She was doing push-ups beforehand, and I was like, oh my gosh. And she was stretching. I was like, should I stretch too? Oh my gosh, what are we doing?
You're like, do I have enough muscles to make this happen? Oh my gosh.
And it was mostly endurance, and there's rules, like you cannot bend your arm, it has to be straight. And so there were people just dropping like flies.
The way I would fail this competition.
And then it got down to the last 2, and everyone was so excited, and everyone's like picking who they wanted to win. They're like, you got this, go. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
serious.
This is incredible.
Yes. So Little Woodrow's has always had, a spot in my heart just because it's fun. But that event was super cool. And I know they're a great place to go for trivia. They're great for Astros games. Yes. They did like an office trivia a while back. Yes. So they're a hoot. So check out Little Woodrow's when you have a chance.
I will.
Yeah.
Some of our best friends live in Tomball, and we get together with our kids a lot. So that's good to know. We'll go out there and hang with them. This episode of the Cold Coffee Club is brought to you by Cordovan Art School. Cordovan Art School is excited to invite you to the grand openings of 3 new studio locations in the Houston area: Katy, Spring, and Sugarland. Cordovan Art School is pleased to be serving our community, providing art classes for kids, teens, adults, and homeschoolers, art camps during school holidays, walk-in pottery painting, birthday parties, and fundraising opportunities in a fun, friendly, creative environment. Come celebrate their new studios in Houston with a free class. Check out www.cordovanartschool.com. That's CORDOVAN artschool.com for classes, camps, and festive fall events. All right, back to the show. We are talking about sibling rivalry, which, I think as moms that affects all of us and how we manage our households. And I know, just a quick little story. I have 2 big sisters, and we got along for the most part. But what's funny is I'm the youngest of 3, and my middle sister and I, we got along really well. We didn't really fight that much. But when she was in high school and I was in junior high, our biggest thing of contention was that I would steal her clothes. Like I would, before she would leave for school before me. So she would leave for her school, and then I would go in her closet and like take her clothes and wear them to school.
Yeah.
And she would just get so mad at me for, for wearing her clothes.
Yeah.
And the way as girls that we fought is we would just yell at each other. And my dad comes from a house of brothers.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand that, like, we would not physically.
You're not going to duke it out.
Yeah. He would just get so angry at us that, like, we would just yell at each other. And the famous story in our house was one day we were up at the top of the stairs, just screaming at each other and slamming doors and yelling and screaming. And he came to the bottom of the stairs and said, "Hey, get out here." We came to the top of the stairs and he said, "Somebody hit somebody and get this over with."
Oh gosh.
And I was like, "I'm not going to hit her. I'm
Oh my gosh.
her."
Oh, that's amazing.
Because in his house, it was like once someone like got a good hit in, then it was
It's
just
done.
over.
It's done.
And
Yep.
we were like, "What? No." But needless to say, that is not how I encourage my children.
Of course not.
Work it out.
Yeah.
In our house. So that is not the advice or the wisdom we will be bringing you today. It's just
for a different podcast. That's a dad podcast.
Yeah, but my gosh, it's a big family joke in our. Just somebody hit somebody and get this over with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right. Yeah.
I just wanted her cuter shirts than mine.
Exactly. Just share. Jeez.
Yeah.
So I'm an only child, and there's so much about this that it's just like new territory for me.
Sure.
I'm like, what is the deal? What is happening? And I joke sometimes, I'm like, God knew better than to give me siblings because I don't have the energy to deal with this. I don't want to hear you yell at me about stuff. Like, I don't want to deal with it. But my boys, and it just seems normal to have sibling rivalries in some sort of way, because I mean we need attention, we need this, we need that, and so it's like, especially for like that firstborn child, it's like I had everything and now I feel like I'm getting less because there's this other person who needs stuff too, and there's only so much time, money, resources to give everybody. But my experience has been that it's just going to happen, and you can help facilitate, hey, we're a team. I'm always preaching to my boys, like, we are a team. You guys are friends. You're never going to have anyone like your brother. You guys are growing up together, having these experiences together. And so that's kind of how I sort of help things. It's finding that balance where everyone's needs are, as much as you possibly can, meet them. But yeah, and my kids are definitely hitters, but they're also like yellers too. And I'm like, pick one. Can we do one or the other? They hit and like want to tell you about it. Like, I can't believe you this, and it's not fair. I'm like, so you yell too? What's it like with a boy and a girl? Like, how are their rivalries?
So they can either be each other's best friends, like they can be so sweet together, and they're very thoughtful of one another even when they're not together. Like, she'll make sure, like, if she goes to the doctor, she'll be like, "Can I get an extra sticker for my brother?" Like, they're very like thoughtful of each other in that way. But they are different genders, and they're pretty far apart in age and maturity.
How far apart are they?
So they're about 3.5 years apart, but she's a 5th grade girl.
Okay.
And he is a 1st grade boy. And so there is a little bit of like, she's kind of into that tween age, and he's still very much, he's a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And so their interests are very different.
Okay.
And he, like, all he wants is to be with her, and he's still very much into the play with toys stage. She is getting to that stage of her life where she's not playing as much with toys and games.
Right.
She's creating more and drawing and talking to her friends, and it's just a different vibe. A friend of mine actually told me, who works at the school, that the 5th graders by the end of the school year, the fifth graders on the playground at recess aren't even really using the playground equipment as much. Like they're just kind of in groups talking. So it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, but they are conversing and talking. It's just they're not swinging and sliding and whatever. It's just they're aging. But to get to my point is that he wants to be with her and play with her. And there are times that she will do that with him. Where they struggle is she says no to him a lot. And he doesn't always take no for an answer.
Yeah.
So he will pester.
Of course.
And she will she'll bark at him. She can also be really passive aggressive. She will sometimes just like ice him out, where she will just go to her room and slam the door. Or she will just avoid him entirely. And one thing I say to her sometimes is, you don't have to play with him, you don't have to, but we will treat him with kindness.
Of course.
You're not going to be cruel to him,
right?
You're not going to be condescending or ugly, because she can get so exasperated that it turns into just ugliness. And so that can get pretty hard. And he'll just amp it up. He tries to get her attention in other ways by, just turning up his kind of class clown antics.
We're currently struggling with and I have all boys, and so they kind of look at each other, and they're relatively close in age. Oliver and Maverick are 3 years apart. Maverick and Reeve are 2 years apart, and they kind of see each other on the same playing field. Like they think of each other as basically the same. Sometimes they don't really notice the dynamic of like, Oliver's almost 10. He's different than you being almost 5. And partly that's because when they're annoyed with each other, Oliver comes down to the 5-year-old level. And I'm like, you guys are not the same. Like, you have the experience and the wherewithal to know, don't be on his level. And so they also struggle with things being exactly the same. Like it must be the same. So it's like, Reeve doesn't understand why Oliver can go to a sleepover or stay up a little bit later, or play certain video games that I don't think is appropriate for a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old is not going to a sleepover. 5-year-old is not, he's not playing Fortnite. You're just not there yet. And so that has caused a lot of issue with our household, just because it's like, but why can't I? He can. And it's always frustration, always. And so that's where that's probably the biggest issue that we're having right now. And like you said, like they can be the best of friends and adore each other. And I'll hear them in their rooms, or they'll go visit. Oliver has his own room now, which that is an issue as well. Like, how come Oliver gets his own room? Because he's older and he needs some space. But I'll hear them like, love you, Oliver. You're my best friend.
Sweet.
Oliver had to host a sleepover in his room the other night, and like everyone hung out in Oliver's room and everyone was happy. But so I'll hear them saying, I love you so much. You're my best friend. But then it's just like the second something happens that Oliver wants some space after school, he's very much like, I need to decompress after school. And they take it as a personal offense. Like, he won't play with us. Like, listen, give him a minute.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to say it all the time to Jack, like, give her, I will say it to him, and I'll tell her, like, especially not as much during the school year, but over the summer, when she really needed space, I would give them both a timer. I would tell her, okay, from now till 2:00, you have alone time. But starting at 2:00, let's have some together time. Because he's at the maturity level where he really wants a playmate, The other thing I'll do sometimes too is in our neighborhood, we do have some little friends within walking distance. And so I'll text their mom and be like, hey, can you send your kids over here?
Yep.
And so like, we'll like even switch back and forth every once in a while.
Yeah.
She'll say, I'll take the boys, you take the girls, and we'll
Aw.
flip flop that way just so she can have some big girl time and
Yeah.
we can have
That's awesome.
some little boy time.
Yeah.
Just to, you know, give each other that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a lot of in our house, a lot of it's okay for you to feel or do this, but what we are not going to do is this.
Yeah.
So, it is okay for you to feel frustrated about fill in the blank, but you are not going to do this. And so, there's a lot, you can be annoyed with your brother. Yeah. Your brother is being annoying, validate that emotion. I'm watching it. Yep. He's being annoying, but you aren't going to slam the door, or, for him, you can feel lonely right now. I bet you do feel lonely. This is a lonely feeling, but what you're not going to do is, continuously run into her room when she's asked you not to come in, Yeah. She has said no, and we are going to honor her wishes, Yeah. So just doing that.
Yeah. One word of advice someone gave me when I had Maverick is to avoid saying things like to Oliver, like, I can't right now, the baby needs me for this. I can't do what you want me to do because your brother needs this. She's like, that is facilitating the annoyance of having a little brother. You want them to be best friends, you want them to adore each other and want to be around each other, but making it to where it's like, I can't do things for you because this new baby needs me is going to cause a problem. So smart. I would try to and I didn't even think of that. That's kind of while I was pregnant, I was like,
you're giving what you think is reasoning.
Right. And so I would try to help, like, involve Oliver, like, okay, well, let's do that, but let's finish changing Maverick's diaper. Can you help me real quick? Or, well, Maverick needs to eat, but I'd love to sit here and you and I talk while he does that. Or, something. So it's not just always like, this baby sucks.
The baby yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Hadn't thought
interesting.
Of that.
Well, and keeping them aware of, like, if we talk about fairness a lot, how I said, like, everything is the same, but everything can be fair, but things can be different too, as Ellie has gotten older. She and I have started doing some things like some mommy daughter time that has started really just in the last year. It didn't start when she was 6. It didn't start when she was 5. We've done some kind of big girl things. I've taken her to some shows down at the hobby center. And I'm planning on doing that a little more and more as she gets older, and some of the content is a little bit grown up material. So there's been some plays I'm like, nah, we're not ready for that one yet. There's some of that stuff. And she said, Mom, Wicked is coming to town next year. Can we go see that? And it's in 2023, so we're pretty far out. But I was like, I think you'd be ready for that. And he said, how come Ellie gets to go do all these things? And I said, well, she's a bit bigger. And when you turn 10, we'll find things for you and I to go do. And of course, he's looking in the here and now going, well, this isn't fair. But the deal is, when she was 6, I wasn't doing these things with her, so it's just different. And I get in their little brains, they're looking at there right now going like, well, what do I do? But it's like, it was a different time, so.
I didn't realize how much explaining I would have to do as a parent. Like, let me break it down for you. When you were this, it didn't happen that way. Let me explain. I didn't realize how much explaining was involved.
Oh yeah.
So
like when my kids found out that we went to California once before they were born. They were like very upset. You went to California without us? You were not here.
Oh gosh, I'll do you one better. My aunt and I have kids similar ages, which is really interesting. My mom had me kind of early. She had kids really late. And so her daughters are annoyed because she had one daughter before they were married. So that daughter was in their wedding photos. The other daughter is not in the wedding photos because she wasn't there yet.
Right.
So when they did like a vow renewal, well, part of the deciding factor to have an actual ceremony and have pictures and everything was because Layla hates that she's not in any of the pictures.
She's
so.
like, how dare you not include
Yes.
me in the first round?
Yes, and I thought that was so funny, and like my kids would never. And then Oliver saw wedding pictures, and he was like, we had him before we were married, so he was too at our wedding, and he was showing Maverick pictures, and Maverick was like, wait a minute,
why am I not in this picture?
and then Reeve was like, me either. So then
very rude, Ashley.
Oh my gosh, it was a whole thing, and I was like, oh, this wasn't even an issue before. I didn't realize y'all cared, and yeah,
it's very funny.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
Oh gosh.
Oh, bless them.
Of course,
Yeah.
So we had a caller call in. We started doing to where we would love to hear y'all's voices on the podcast. And so we started up a recording service kind of thing. And so we have one caller, Tiffany, and she shares kind of how she handles sibling rivalries. So let's listen to that.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Harris, and I'm the mother of twin 6-year-olds, a girl and a boy. And my best tip for managing sibling rivalry is to let them realize that they are both independent people. I want them to respect each other's boundaries and really see each other as individuals as opposed to always a twosome. So when it comes to disagreements or any other issues that they are dealing with, I make sure to help them try to see the other one's perspective, and so that they can see each other for their differences as opposed to always being together and needing each other. So I want to validate them and help them understand that, hey, this is the other person's perspective.
Awesome. Great advice from Tiffany. So what were you going to say? What was your...
Well, one, I love especially bringing in the twin perspective there, like that you are different people and you're going to have different perspectives on things. But one thing I want to mention is there are times if my kids are really disagreeing on something, and especially if I've not been a part of the argument, and if I'm coming into it and they're like, well, and it's just like chaos.
Yeah.
One thing I will do is often bring them each alone into my room one at a time, and like let them really get out their full piece, like really tell me, like, in kind of the safety of, because sometimes, like, even especially with Ellie, she knows, like, I'm going to say something that might hurt his feelings, or like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. And he's been asking me over and over again. And I know that he wants me to, but I don't want to, or something like that. Or I've been doing this for 20 minutes and I don't want to do it anymore, So it's kind of like letting me know maybe a backstory or whatever it is. Or same with him. And so like, it's helpful to maybe separate them sometimes and let them privately tell me a situation.
I like that.
But that's one thing that's helped at our house.
Yeah,
but
that's
let them be individual people and not just kind of in group speak.
Right.
Scream at me, whatever is going on. And
I
mean, there are times that I'm like, y'all have to work it out, But, there's other times that it's helpful to kind of remove them from the situation.
That's actually really useful. I hadn't really thought of that, and as Tiffany mentioned, kind of treating them as individuals kind of stood out to me, because a lot of times we think of our children as a unit, like it's my kids, so it's just like it's not Oliver, Maverick, Reeve. It's my kids are this. And, our last name is Black. And so I always call them the Black Boys. So like they have, a baseball bag and it says the Black Boys on it. And sometimes I forget that they are not a unit. These people are all
Yes.
very, very different. You can't discipline them the same. You cannot, even praising them, you kind of have to do it differently per kid.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that approach of reminding yourself that these are very separate individuals. They are living in the same house together and doing a lot of the same things, but still they are very, very, very different.
Right.
So, and reminding each of them that, like, hey, Maverick doesn't like this. Hey, Reeve, Oliver really enjoys when you do this. And like reminding them that like that individual person has their own dynamic, their own stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reminding your kids to even keep that in mind.
Well, and it helps them know, like, living with a sibling, 1 or 5 or whoever, it's preparing them for how to live later with whether it's roommates or a partner. To know like different people handle conflict and handle their emotions in different ways. Like I really sometimes, like if I'm really overwhelmed, I need to kind of like retreat. Other people, if they are overwhelmed, like they need people, like they need to kind of like, they get their energy from others. And so it's just helpful to be like I explain to Jack sometimes, like she needs to be alone for a little bit. Like she'll not need to be alone all day. Right. She just needs to be alone for like an hour. Like, so she just wants to go in her room and read, and like, that's okay. And that doesn't mean she doesn't like you. Right. It just means she just wants to go to her room and read. And it's not about you. It's just about her, Right. And like coaching him through that like, and like this is going to help him a lot one day when he's a big boy. Her needing to be alone is not about you. Like that's just about her. And it's just guiding him through that part of it. And don't take that personally. Like, give her a minute. And also helping him work on his emotions, that like he, as he emotionally regulates his own anger and going like, okay, are you mad that you lost the game, or are you mad that she won the game? Like, like that kind of stuff. Or you said you wanted to play with her, but she won. That's part of the risk of playing. Part of playing with someone is you might lose. So that's part of it. So it's just practice, being with other people. So I love it's all just life lessons, and you as the mom are being the referee, and you are being the counselor, the school counselor, and the teacher, and the principal, and the
lunch lady, and
the life coach, and
all the things.
Therapist, and all of it. It's a blast.
It's a blast. Andrea wrote into us, and she just said to remind, she said to remind your kids that they are best friends, that they, do love each other even when they're annoying each other, and that they're different, and that's a good thing. And then she said, kind of like what we were talking about, that we can't keep everything fair all the time and at the same time, like it's just, it's not going to happen that way, and that life isn't fair. And getting them to understand, like me saying not right now, like you taking Ellie to see Wicked, it's not that you can't have this, Jack, it's not right now because you're not ready yet, but things will even out, there's balance in it all, so it will be okay.
I have a friend who has 4 kids, and they're all pretty close in age, and she has a rule that I can't remember if it's 1 or 2, but at any given semester, only 1 to 2 of them are playing a sport. And the other ones are watching and supporting.
That's awesome.
And then the next semester, it's the other ones. And it does a couple, one, it's like, because time and money, like we just can't be taking all 4 of you to 4 different places and spending all this money. But it's also like, it's your turn to cheer. And go sit and watch your sister play softball or whatever it is. And you might be
That's
thinking, but
awesome.
I want to play something. Yeah, you will
Yeah.
in a semester and a half, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's
like it's
awesome.
just because she said, like, it's just too much for us.
Yeah.
One, to juggle getting everyone to everything, but they just rotate.
That's a
And
great idea.
I just thought that was super smart because
Yeah.
it just it's too much, and it just builds that support for your siblings,
Yep.
to
Oh,
go
I
like
love it.
you get to go be supportive.
That's really smart. I like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I did have a book recommendation. It's for
Okay.
kids, and it's called "I Used to Be Famous," and it's by Tara Loewe and Becky
Cute.
Katie. And so it's about a little girl who, kind of likens her parents to paparazzi and personal chefs and stuff, and then she has a baby sister, and she's like, well, I used to be everything, but then
That's
she realizes
really cute.
even though she's not in the spotlight all the time, she gets to be, play the starring role as a big sister. And I thought, like,
That's
that book
really
just
cute.
sounds adorable.
That
And
sounds
then
precious.
yes, and my kids are really into Arthur these days, which makes me happy because I used to love Arthur. And so we've been checking out DVDs of Arthur, and we'll play them in the car on the way to and from school. And they started noticing, like, Arthur has a little sister who's a little bit annoying, but somehow, like, Oliver
Good old DW.
Yes, DW is a hoot. And Oliver noticed the other day, and they were talking in the back seat. He's like, yeah, but he still, like, sticks up for her. He still, like, loves her. And I was just like, I turned back there and I was like, oh my gosh, it's working.
I love it.
Yeah, so
They're learning.
yes, they are. And I am so happy. I am here for
I
it.
love that.
All right. So if you have any tips for handling sibling rivalries or anything, we'd love to hear from you. So definitely share that with us, and we'll share those tips with our audience. So let's move into our house blend. What is your house blend for this week?
Okay, we have a really exciting event for y'all. We have planned a really cool thing for you and your kids. It is Sunday, October 16th from 10 to 1. Y'all, this is going to be so cute. It's called Hanging with Heroes, and it's something for you to bring your kids to. It's kind of a superhero theme. You don't have to dress up, but that was kind of like what we were thinking.
Yeah.
And there will be superheroes there that you can get your picture
Yes.
taken with. So,
Yes.
like, if you want to have your kids come as like Batman and Superman and Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, whatever. But there will be photo ops and self-defense and superhero lessons. We have like a Krav Maga company coming that they're gonna like teach you how to do things. This is my impression of things. If you're watching on YouTube, I am doing things. There will be face painting and crafts. There will be food trucks. So it's at Kelsey Siebold's main campus, and outside is going to be where all the food trucks are. And then inside, this is so cute, there's going to be a teddy bear clinic. And the doctors from Kelsey Siebold are going to be teaching the kids how to be doctors. And we're going to be like doing a little teddy bear clinic. So it's so cute. So we do have tickets available. So we're going to have the link here in our show notes. So it is a ticketed event. So you do have to go do that. But it's all of that is included. There is swag bags with like really great swag. We've been planning this for months. So we've really worked hard to make it a really great event. So Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a come and go thing. And bring your kiddos, bring your little superheroes to Hanging with Heroes. We're so excited.
Yay.
Yeah.
My house blend this week is Danny wrote an amazing guide to the Renaissance Festival.
Yes.
So she writes it so well. I've never had interest in going to the Renaissance Festival ever. I was just like, yeah, that's not really
I
my
think
thing.
you would love it. Your
I
kids
bet.
would love it.
Yes, they would love it. I just assumed it wasn't really my thing, but after reading Danny's guide, I was like, oh, we're going.
Yeah.
So
It's
definitely check that out. The Renaissance Festival starts the first weekend of October and goes all the way through Thanksgiving weekend. So you have plenty of time to go check it out and have some fun.
Yeah.
We always wrap up every episode of the Cold Coffee Club with a see you later caffeinator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this one is all about new siblings. Research shows that children who are spaced out about 3 years apart are better able to manage the changes in attention that are required
Okay.
from having a new sibling. So they're a little bit more mature. They're ready to handle, like, okay, well, there's this new person who's taking up mom's time and
Yeah.
all that. So, and your kids are 3 years apart.
Yeah, about 3.5.
Yeah.
A little more than.
My older two are 3 years apart. My younger two are 2 years apart. So that explains a little bit why there was friction in the very beginning with my younger two.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for
All
another
right,
episode.
guys.
We'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
You've been listening to the Cold Coffee Club, brought to you by Houston Moms. We wish you a fabulous week with your families and look forward to sharing many more cups of cold coffee with you.